you're going down the if you can think of a sea sort of rotating and falling on itself, the top of the sea going back into the Great Hall. You can see that by the table that had all the supplies on. You can see Loch is sort of like perched himself against the table as he's just finishing the last bite of his soup.
That looks like good soup.
I'm going to assume I've been eating all this time, have I?
Yeah, you've been eating a lot of stuff, mate.
Yeah. Loch's kind of just sat there, big old pot belly sticking out. Yep, it was good soup. Eighth bowl.
Is there anything that you would like to discuss between the three of you, or it has technically only been, I would say, about actually real time. I think if anything, that has been the real time like in game as well. So it's been about an hour and a bit, just divulging theories, postulating sort of links to events.
Has what's the name broken up yet? Manala.
So she went down. So the corridor that Coco and Weylin have just come down, that was the corridor she was taken up. And she went, if you're looking down the corridor, she went right into the wall. And there's a door that you can just see with candlelight flickering in there. That's the infirmary that she's come by. You can see a couple of dwarves talking outside of that door. But no, there's no sign that she's woken up just yet.
Where's Adrick and Bree?
So they are within the center of like this amphitheater structure. So the great hall, this central hall of this temple, goes down in like steps, and they're down in the bottom of it. Not too far, but not too close to the statue that has now, been broken and shattered in the center of this great chamber. And they're tending to the wounds of Harshnag.
Okay, I'll head down that way.
Cool. Okay. And just for clarity, I assume the other two you'll be following him?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so all of you are now within the base of the amphitheater. Harshnag seems to be now sort of he's got one small area that only one aide has remained. Adrick, you're sort of pointing out bits and pieces that aide is doing, just trying to give your own advice to him as he just finishes up. He notices that all of you have now come down, and he bids farewell. So it's the five of you, Johanna and Darafor.
I'll look to the rest of the guys. We need to speak to Anala. We need to know why she was down there, what she was doing with the dragon. I'm assuming that was a dragon that we met. That was the blue dragon, yeah?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it was one of the blue dragons.
Mm-hmm.
But we should probably let her rest. I mean, yeah, we should probably rest as well.
I don't know if we have time. I felt like I was being cold to that place. It must have been for a reason.
Have you had another one of your visions?
Not since the last one, but that place, I'd been to that place in my vision, and there must be a reason why. And if who we found there was this dragon and Renala, then I must have been led there to find Renala for a reason. So I need to speak to her as soon as possible.
I suspect the healers won't be keen on that. She was near death.
The disease was also really quite invasive, wasn't it?
Which,
I've
sorry?
forgotten about that. Yeah.
Weylin described the this coating, this almost like this root-like kind of structure that was going up her neck from underneath her clothing up into her jawline.
If I'm not mistaken, it's about sort of just after midday, early afternoon.
Yeah, it's now about 2:30, but because of this this sort of experience that you've all had down below, there does seem to be this bit of like body clock lag going on.
Yeah.
Something that you've never experienced yourself. You definitely notice that Bree, Adrick, and Coco seem to be a little bit more, sluggish than normal, especially for this time of the day. Admittedly, you have just, destroyed like 8 bowls of soup.
I might have a little power nap, and I'll give the healers a couple more hours to work on Renala, but I will need to speak to her later on today, if possible.
I could always go check on them for you, Loch. Johanna responds to you.
That'd be great, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna have a
Our
nap.
work here is done with Harshnag, so I am of no more use. She gives a nod to Darafor, and she gives a nod to you, Adric, almost like as a sign of, well, like good work with what you've been doing with the aids to Harshnag's wounds. And she goes off up the inset steps, these steps that have been constructed post the construction of this building, and she goes off down the corridor. Darafor turns to all of you. So how long are you planning on staying for? If we have to get an abode for the five of you, then by all means, I can set up something close by to the temple. I can put guards wherever you need, such that you feel safe. And I am as dreadful as I must admit there has been for the last 24 hours of being in your presence. I have enjoyed having my brother back. And he gives you a pat on the back, Adric.
Oh, you said the sweetest thing. I don't know how long we'll be here for. I think I need to leave again to see what we want to sort out, but I don't think we finished deciding.
Mm.
We we should probably join. Well, we should probably all have a power nap or longer. I need a new blanket, and we should stock up on supplies and things like that, as well as get fully rested before we go. We don't know where we're going yet.
Well, from the conversation that I have overheard whilst I've been concentrating on getting this big lad stuff all in order, and he pats Harshnag on the leg, and you all kind of get rocked by Harshnag wincing. Darafor gives a bit of a chuckle to himself. We can make a means to an end your supply issue. If there's anything that you need replenishing, Bolgantech can provide. But he turns to the entrance where all the windows, etc., are, and the wind is howling. The water is lashing up against the side of the temple. I do not know how much longer this storm will be here. If it is like the weather events that we have had over this last month or so, this storm could be a night, 2, 3, dare I say 4. Unfortunately, you will have to judge it by eye and ear and feel.
Yeah, let's hope it blows over. We need to know where Karnheim is, I suppose. But I personally have no clue beyond that. I don't know what the others are thinking.
Well, I suppose we could head back to Silvery Moon. We could go to the tower. That wasn't Silvery Moon, if I remember right.
It's Everland.
Everland.
It's south of Silvery Moon. So Silvery Moon is the main capital of the region that you are technically in, and Everland is almost like the sub city. It's the city that seems to be the gateway to the Sword Coast. And you go down one of the roads parallel to the top of the High Forest down into Tribor.
Yeah.
The only reason why you haven't been to Silvery Moon is because technically you flew off in a gondola, so you haven't really been going on the roads too often in this area.
That's right. I believe we have some unfinished business in and around the west side as well. The tower has some teleportations options, as well as a lot of knowledge, so we can maybe take back what we found.
An option. So back to Everland.
You do also have, technically, you have the quest given to you by the King of Adbar to report back any findings that you've had. Whether or not this would warrant that visit is up to you.
Well, that'll be on the way really, because we need to get back on the road. We're up in the Ice Spires right now, aren't we? So it's we're quite far out.
Kind of the other direction, isn't it? Adbar's that way and Everland's that way.
You could do a send. You could do a send message to Adbar.
Oh, could do.
Before we decide where we're going next, and any final decision is made, I'd very much like to speak to Renala. I feel I was brought there for a reason.
Oh, absolutely. Straight after the short rest, we can pop up the stairs. Was it up the stairs or down the stairs?
You have to go up the stairs.
Up the stairs.
go. We could get together some supplies. Have a short. Well, as is the plan. We have a short rest now. We talk to Renala. We put together some supplies. We then wait to see what the weather's doing. If necessary, have a longer rest. No point setting out in a storm like this. Admittedly, this might be a magical storm intended to keep us here. So we might just have to make do with that. But let's worry about that once we know what Renala can tell us.
Agreed.
We have got a scroll. We could send a message now without we know what we want to say and to whom.
Okay, Loch's gonna get himself comfy to embrace his food coma.
Yeah, for now we can just rest up. Yeah, so we can send a message a little bit later.
If you are all going to be staying, and as much as I do, sleeping on stone, I'm not much for the niceties of pillows and mattresses. I'm one of those dwarves that likes to rough it close up against stone, rock, and pebble. I can get some better accommodation for you if you're willing. I understand that, well, from what I've read, that is Loch. Do you prefer being in a bed, or are you like myself?
There are times where I prefer to be outdoors. I think this could be one of those times where I would like to be outdoors and with nature.
I see. Well, unless you have a boat, and he looks back out at the door, this small little, what's like this trickle of water has gotten heavier. It's roughly about 2 inches wide now, and it's just starting to pool at the base of one of these stairs that goes into the amphitheater, but does drain away. Like, it hasn't grown too much. There is a puddle. That is a great gif. There's a dwarf outside, and you just see like a flagstone smash it in its face. No, I joke. I shall bring some blankets then. I shall bring something just a little bit more comfier than these stone steps, and he taps his
I'll
foot
find
on.
a little spot that's sheltered.
No worries. Okay. What else is everyone else doing? Just so I know.
Do you have a waterbed?
What now? If you want to sleep in a barrel full of water, we can accommodate that.
Excellent.
Okay. He turns to Bree, Weylin, Adrick, sort of giving some odd side eye to Coco.
This bird is a bear.
Yourselves?
It's just a short rest for me. I'm quite happy enough just sitting around and sleep sitting at that table over there if I need to.
I see.
So Loch's a hardy soul. He doesn't mind a little bit of water, but I'd prefer something a bit drier. A normal bed's fine.
A bed in a nice quiet area.
Of course. I shall find a room with a hearth, put the fire on. If you will just give me half an hour to accommodate your needs.
Sure.
Excellent. He gets up and he goes up. He gets up about halfway up the stairwell. Loch, you're now sort of getting into sort of like a corner, a more sheltered area. You've got a slight breeze coming through the openings at the front of the temple, bringing in that fresh mountain air. That sort of, it's got a bit dampness to it, obviously, because it's raining. Everyone else, you're sort of not kicking your heels, but you're sort of with Harshnag, keeping him company. Harshnag still seems to be in deep in thought about everything that Bree, Adrick, that you've divulged to him. As Daraford gets to the top of the stairs, and Loch, just as your head hits the rigid flagstone floor, you see Johanna rushing out of the corridor. Daraford puts up his hand, and you hear Adrick and Dwarven something along the lines of like, "What's wrong?" As she just rushes past him and she comes down towards yours as she's awake. She's awake. She's slightly. She's present. She knows who she is. I thought you should know.
Yep, I'll be up and heading in that direction.
All right, Loch is bolted off.
But Weylin will head on up. He was just milling about.
Okay,
Yeah.
no worries.
Adric will go too.
All right, all right.
I can run up as
It's
well.
safe.
with
It's
all my
safe to
bear.
assume that you all want to go. Okay. Nice. Well, actually, Bree, are you going, or are you going to curl up somewhere?
I will follow the group.
All right, no worries. So you all rush off. Johanna is not quite leading the pack with Loch in front of her, but you're all just behind, clipping her heels. You go through the corridor. You turn a right. Loch, you are at the stone bedsit. She is being looked after. There are a couple of aides by her side. There's an aide by the side of her companion, and with now the familiar candlelight glow, you're able to actually get a look at the pair of them. She has had most of her armor taken off of her, and she has been bandaged up in certain areas. And you can see that there's like the arms, the oils that have been used on Harshnag that have also been used on her. And you can see just like the faint glow of one of these aides' hands as as they seem to be trying to cast some minor healing magic upon sort of like her ankle. Seemingly she has a sprained ankle. Similarly, you see the bear not quite as looked after, being a beast as such. Adric, as you and the rest of the group also come in, you can see that your your blanket has been used to some effect. Unfortunately, it has been cut up, being the only larger piece of fabric present at the time, it seems, to band-aid up and splint one or two of the legs of the bear. But as you all come at ease, at rest, taking a breath in about how quickly you've come into this room, you can see the extent of this ailment, this feature, this bark-like quality to Renala's skin. You can see that she's taking in deep breaths, and as she takes a breath inwards, you can see that some of it seems to almost separate, as if it's almost scaly as well. But as she exhales, it all comes back together. Yeah, it's not as if her skin has been cracked by some sort of burn. This actually seems to be part of her. She also, as gnomes go, she still has like the large eyes, the dainty facial features that you were accustomed to when Fana was part of your group in the early days of your adventure. But she seems to have taken on more of a elf-like appearance. Her ears are more pointier, her jawline is more pronounced, and there seems to be this like a tone to her skin, an auburn glow. Someone who may have been in the sun, not necessarily for too long, but someone who would have just come away from like the shoreline of a coast, someone who's been on a boat for too long, someone who, for lack of a better term, may have been like kissed by the sun. And this same quality can be seen in her bear companion. Instead of the deep black fur that you noticed, Loch, when you were sort of having a bit of a rough and a tumble with them outside the abbey of the Golden Fields area, it too now has more of a coppery auburn tone. And as you just sort of tilt yourself, you can see that with the pivot of candlelight, there is this sort of almost like pearlescent sheen to its fur. And growing out the top of its head, where they've parted the fur, you can almost see like these tree-like, bark-like horns as such grow sort of along, not as if they're antlers. They're like low profile horns, almost that of like a goat. But you can see that its claws are more pronounced. You can see that through some of the band-aids that have been put around the limbs of the bear, it too has other bark-like, tree-like properties to it. And as you all encircle her bedsit, Loch, you can see that she is trying to open her eyes and look at those that have just come around.
I'll walk up to her bedside. Take it easy. How are you doing?
She's very short of breath. As you as you've knelt down just to talk to her in that gentle tone, and as you're sort of taking in more of her facial features, the details of her eyes, her hair, this bark-like kind of skin condition, you can almost see a quality to her that you can see in Weylin. But the way that sometimes his eyes almost have like this pearlescent sort of swirly sheen to them in different variants of light, almost as if Weylin, to a degree, has a reflection of nature around him. She takes a couple of deep breaths, and you hear a faint "thank you" as she continues to try and breathe in and breathe out.
How did you come to be in that place? Last time we saw you, you were a long ways away from here.
She tries to, sensing like this type of question being given to her. She almost tries to be more present in the situation. You can see her trying to sort of prop herself up. A couple of the aides come to her attention and try and talk her out of it, but she seems to shunt herself up to the pillows that have been given to her. And this is very quiet. Only yourself, like being up close to her, you're able to make out like the full sentence. Everyone else around her, you do see that she is talking, but very, very faintly. We were sent for the calling. That's why Fana had to leave. I can't remember. How did I get here? I was by his side. And she seems to get a little bit worked up.
Is that the last thing you remember?
She gives a small nod. I recall feeling cold, rain. He was fending off just all sorts.
We found you with what we think was a blue dragon. Does that stir any memory?
Blue dragon? No, it was green. She seems to close her eyes, trying to remember what details that she can.
I'll look around to the rest of the group, relay what she said. I was hoping to get more information, find out what she was doing down there, but if the last thing she remembers is being with Fauna.
That's not very useful, is it?
One of the aides comes up to you, Loch, as you address as you stood up and have addressed the group. She did have some belongings on her, and she points to a table opposite the end of the bedsit, and you can see that her armor is under some blankets. Her cloak is neatly folded up as best as it can in its torn condition, and you can see that there are a couple of pouches that seem to have been that they would attach to her armor, but they have been taken off.
Let's see what other items there are.
Yeah, sure, you can go over to it.
Yep.
Renala seems to be focused on you, Weylin, as Loch has kind of departed her side. Loch, as you approach the table, there are three almost like these leather capsule-like pouches. So it's a stiff leather material that has like a buckle on the front, and you pop the buckle and it opens up. Or it would open up, and there are three in varying sizes and thicknesses.
Anything else around?
Besides that, her armor, like her boots, are on the floor, propped up against the side of the this table or this sideboard. That's pretty much it. There are no weapons present, no daggers, nothing hidden like a hunting knife that you would normally take out with you. Just that, really. 3 pouches, the armor, cloak.
What's in the pouches?
You start to go through her stuff. As you go through the medium-sized one, a couple of things fall out. One being a pristine spindle of crystal. This crystal seems to be set either end in some sort of opal stone, and on one end it looks as if something could be threaded through, almost as if it's a necklace. The second is a piece of paper that has been folded several times and folded into itself. It's not sealed, so you would be able to unfurl that. And then the other, as it tumbles out of the container, it's an insignia that you haven't seen for some time, and it is an insignia that you would have recognized from some of the armor that Felivel has worn in the past. And it's just a small carving of sorts, almost as if it's a token that has this branding, this like hot knife branding, set into it.
Would I recognise what it's for?
No, it just seems to be some sort of carved token, like a coin almost.
No, sorry. What I meant is the I've seen Felivel wear it in the past. Would I know what it would have represented? Would I know what group that would have represented, or what?
So your old teacher never truly divulged into what side of the coin she was on, what side of the fence that she swayed more onto. She always seemed to be middle of the row, never took sides, but was always the first one to stop a fight or to quell any danger or anyone wanting to cause chaos, as it were, to upset the balance. She always told you. If anything, you only recall this as like her insignia, her logo, almost that of like what the factions would have. So the Lord's Alliance would have their own. Silvery Moon has their own insignia. The insignia of the Emerald Enclave that you've seen in the past, calling back to your time in Golden Fields, that place was plastered with that insignia.
Okay. Is she still awake?
Yeah. So just quickly going back to the bedsit then. Yeah. So Weylin, as I said, as Loch has left her side and as Loch has gone off to see her possessions, she does seem to be focused on you and solely you. She doesn't seem to glance towards the aides helping her, nor to Bree, Adrick, not even to Coco, who is probably one of the more exotic of all of you.
Welling kind of just looks at her and looks around like, "Can I help you?"
You see her murmur something. I need to find some bits and pieces.
I get a little bit closer.
You hear her say, "He's alive," as she looks at you with those faint, weak breaths that she takes.
Who's alive?
She points to the side, like she has one arm just beside her, and she has one on her chest, and she uses the one on her one that's laid to her side just to point to where Loch is. He never stopped. He was part of the journey. He helped us through the path.
Oh. Thanks, Renala. Thank you. You should rest.
So, Loch, we are still rifling through her belongings.
Yeah, I'll be taking them over to her. pointedly pointing at the little insignia. What does this insignia mean? What is this part of?
Is that a question to her? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've it's getting a bit crowded in this room, but so you've had to sit on the opposite side that you were on just now. So you're between her and her bear companion. The aides move from the area just to allow you through. She turns her head and goes, We met her. She helped us get through the path.
You
She
met who?
didn't let anyone go.
You met who?
The she kind of she's incredibly tired, and she's trying her hardest to try and remember who this person was to answer your question. And she seems to like stutter trying to get some word out, and she's saying it in sort of like an elvish tongue. Gossamerete. She knew something was wrong. No one was listening. She found us. It all went wrong.
I'll hold up the insignia again. What does this represent?
She gave it to everyone. It allowed us to go through something.
Where were you trying to go, Renala?
She turns back to you, Weylin. We had to go to the grandfather tree, the deepening grove. We had to aid the calling.
As she's talking to Weylin, I'm gonna open up the parchment that she had and just see what that says as well.
Opening up this multi-folded piece of paper, almost as if it's like an origami puzzle, it unfolds, and written on it's almost like a shifted square inside. And as you rotate the paper, it looks to be almost a hand-drawn map of sorts, with some writing in Elven strewn across the place, as well as some language that you can't quite make out. It's Elven in nature, but far more complex and almost as if it's a riddle.
Am I able to read it?
Yes, so I'm just trying to find some stuff. So it is when it loads. Apologies, bear with. So you can see written across is directions on how to get through certain obstacles, a means to travel between certain locations that you have never heard of. Some of these locations, or what you would deem would be a location in the way that the Elven is written, it's in this different dialect of Elven. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is a place called the Verdant Expanses, and something called the Glade Regent.
Do these mean anything to me?
No.
Okay.
But there is an insignia though at the sort of one of the corners of this this map, this instructional piece of paper.
Does it
And
match
it
the
seems to
insignia
be
that I'm holding?
Yes, but it seems to be something far more ornate and complicated in style. But comparing the two, there is a lot of similarity between the two, between the pair.
Well, this just raises more questions. I'll look back to the conversation she's having with Weylin.
Okay. Weylin, can you remind me what you were asking Renala?
I hadn't really asked anything after who was escorting and why they were going there. So it was to aid the calling of the grandfather tree, I do believe. But that's as far as we got. Would I have managed to catch a glimpse of that, or a glimpse of that that parchment, or is that kind of like out of my eye shot at the moment?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's outside of your eye shot, but it depends on what Loch's doing with that piece of paper to actually see the true details.
I wouldn't have been too sneaky with it. I'd have been holding it up to get a good look at it.
Okay, so you would be able to take the piece of paper or sort of look around.
Yeah, okay. I'd be familiar with terminology of the verdant expanses. Also, the slightly more convoluted dialect of Sylvian. Would I be right in thinking that that's more kind of Fey language?
Bingo.
Hey,
Yeah.
there we go.
So the Verdant Expanses is a region that you know of, which is one of the more grander planes of nature within the Feywild. The term the Glade Regent, check that, is, and this isn't something to take lightly, is one of the Archfey Wardens of that region, i.e., one of the, putting it simply, one of the faction leaders, comparative to the other, so to the three other major natural planes of the Feywild.
Who?
You're trawling.
Gosrinite, or I don't know how to pronounce the name.
Yeah, so that isn't mentioned on this piece of paper. But as you're trawling through, trying to connect what Renala has said to you and some of the other stuff that you've managed to pick up on the conversation, this meek conversation you're having with her, there is a name on the piece of paper and an arrow pointing to it. And it is someone who you felt that you were completely lost from, and it is the name of your brother. However, the location in which this is pointing to, from memory, is nowhere near the place in which the pair of you were separated from. The place in which you were separated from was somewhere within your home region, which was the Fallscape, which is within the more autumnal planes of nature within the Feywild.
That is right, yeah. And so what was Renala doing? Why try to traverse the link bridges when it's so dangerous right now? Renala, did
Are
you
you saying?
try
Are you,
to?
oh, sorry. Start again. Apologies.
So Renala, did
So-
you try going to the Faerun?
Is that what this insignia allows you to traverse?
She shakes her. She lightly shakes her head, but not necessarily directing it to either one of you. But she lets off a reply. We weren't supposed to. It 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 came. It corrupted. It corrupted him.
Did you see anything? Any kind of entity? Or was it just energy? What corrupted him?
Those that are deemed the conduit, they offer themselves to the tree to preserve the life. We were to have the term preservers as part of this ritual, this ceremony. He
And it
came.
came through?
No, it came through him. This the elders said that this hadn't happened for hundreds of years. This being the conduit, a treant of sorts. He said it was time. And
The
came to
conduit being the treant.
She nods.
I forget the name of the treant that we were speaking to before that gave us that silly quest. What was his name?
Lifalas.
Lefalas. Was his name Lifalas?
She nods gently.
Right. So Lithalas is potentially was he? Would you say he's corrupted, or would you say he's? Did you see him better? Was it just a small amount of time that he was somewhat? What's the word? It's not quite possession. It's more extension to the conduit. Is Lithalas okay? Do you know?
She shakes her head.
So we know where to go next.
There was something dark, and then Farna charged forward, noticing something, and then
And then the
we
next thing
all collapsed.
Next thing
The
you know, you
ritual
woke
had
up.
finished. Yeah. Not. She shakes her head.
Ah.
We did awake, but not in the tree. We were on a plateau. Behind us was something that resembled the tree. But there was fighting. There was beings that I'd only heard in stories, fighting against something of just corruption. And there it stood in something that resembled the circle we were in. And she tries to prop herself up a bit more, trying to sort of describe what was going on. Some tall, slender being, purple in skin, coming out of a hollow shell of Lithalas. That's when she came, and she turns to Loch. That's when Gosmerete saved us. And she reaches for your hand and holds the token with that burnt on insignia.
Have I heard that name before?
No, but she is clasping that simple wooden token, and she's not going for the piece of paper.
Yeah. I'll hold up the other item, the what looks like it could have been a necklace. This was in your belongings too.
She nods. I think that's to stop it again.
To stop what?
2 secs. Sorry. Apologies. Sorry, everyone. I just need to find the name of an NPC. Oh, this is annoying. I just had it up. Sorry, everyone.
How dare you?
Oh, no. Terrible. It's too much going on. I swear I had it written down.
I've got to be honest. I wasn't expecting to take notes of this magnitude, and I've just filled up the backside of my water bill. So
I like it. Oh, I know where it is. Sorry, I'm looking in the wrong section of the forum.
I was just wondering whether to put paragraphs in, but hey.
But my notes are very chaotic at the moment.
Oh, I've used too many characters. I'm going to have to put paragraphs in because it's too long.
She, so she carries on, and she says, "It's to stop Iliath," and she turns to you, Weylin. It was her in Lithalas.
Iliath in Lithalas?
She turns back to you, Loch, and she meagerly points to the this spinal, this crystal capped by this opal stones on either end, this pendant of sorts, and she goes on saying, "She told me to give that to someone, Little Sprout."
Little Sprout. I'll look at Weylin. Do you know a Little Sprout?
Weylin shrugs. So we can always ask when we get there.
I'll take the pendant. Do you want us to deliver this
I need to get back
back to where?
back to the glade. I have to help Varna.
I'll give it a pendant back then. Do you wish to take this with you?
She's incredibly weak. Let's just make that clear. Like she really is. She tries to push it back to you, but because you're obviously stronger than her, you kind of push through her, and she just shakes her head.
Deliver to Sprout then.
As she shakes her head, and you take back the pendant, she just points. She points directly at you.
Okay, I'll find Sprout when we get there. I'll stash it in my pocket.